I don't think we need a completely independent park board that has its own taxing authority and is its own form of little government in the city, but I like the checks and balances we have in our current system. But I think that maybe to make people feel better, and I wonder if this isn't why they're looking at trying to fold the Board of Estimate and Taxation into the City Council, because they do have the power to do an independent audit of the city budget. And I think I'd like to see an independent audit, and I'm concerned that the City Council, one of their main reasons for eliminating the Board of Estimate is to eliminate that power to be audited.
If there is, I mean, I just can't believe that there isn't some clarity, permeating throughout the citizens or throughout the communities of Minneapolis, letting, everyone know why, taxes have gone up so much over the last 10 years. But it's really not common knowledge, to me at least, except that they have gone up. But, why isn't there, a real handle on why they've gone up? I mean, are there like services being offered that weren't offered 10 years ago?
It's actually kind of funny when you ask that is, in my ward, Xerxes Avenue runs through there and they've repaved it. And rather than the city paying for that out of your property taxes, they're assessing the homeowners along the road for the price of that. And so, your property taxes aren't even going into fixing the roads anymore. You got to ask yourself, what are they doing with this money? Mm-hmm. And I want to go there. I want to find out. And that's why I think we need an independent audit as well, to give the city people of the city comfort that their tax money isn't being squandered.
And if it's not going to services, and you can debate whether or not the services are necessary, but at least it's going to something. If we're offering the same services as we were 10 years ago, then we're just running our government so much less efficiently than we did 10 years ago because we require so much more money for the same services. Well, it just doesn't add up.
Yeah, I saw, somebody say Minneapolis has its fiscal house in order.
Yeah, right.
Okay, and I think if you're depending on doubling or tripling the property taxes in the next 9 years to have your fiscal house in order, there probably is some level of mismanagement. Sometimes you have to push the reset button on the city. And one thing I was just thinking about, I mentioned before that I heard someone say that Minneapolis has its fiscal house in order.
Uh-huh.
The person who said that is my opponent. So clearly she isn't addressing the needs in that we need to reset. She thinks everything's honky-dory. I think you need new representation, especially in Ward 13, because we pay a large chunk of these city property taxes.
Where is Ward 13?
Ward 13 is the southwest corner of Minneapolis.
Okay.
Roughly, there's some jogs in here, but it's roughly from Lake Street in West Calhoun,
Mm-hmm.
and it covers a little bit of East Harriet, so basically it goes from France to Lyndale, all the way south to 62 from Lake Street. We love living where we live, but it's getting exceedingly hard to afford, and it's not because our mortgage payments have went up, it's because our property taxes have went up. I talked to some seniors just lived down the street from me a few blocks when I was out door knocking, and they told me 40 years ago their taxes, mortgage, and insurance are less than half. We're less than half of what they just pay in property taxes now.
Huh.
And they want to retire, but they're going to have to leave the city, especially if this keeps going on. They're barely holding on right now.
Okay, let's show the viewers your website here. Kris Broberg for City Council. You can check him out at www.krisbroberg.org, and I'll have it up throughout the episode for the viewers as well to check out. But on here, you highlight an independent park board, and that's something you alluded to for a minute there. The park board, right now Minneapolis has the City Council and the park board, which function autonomously, completely?
No, not completely. It was just like, I think we kind of covered this. I like the way it's set up currently, where there's a little bit of checks and balances, especially including the Board of Estimate. I think keeping the Board of Estimate and Taxation as an independent body, and I'd like to actually see more elected people on it than the two that are on there. But keeping that body separate, I think, is important, because then if the City Council is running the Board of Estimate, they can control the funding for the park board, and it removes the whole layer of checks and balances that I think could be distressing.
Okay, and there's a movement within the council to sort of annex the park board authority within the city council's authority.
They've been trying to do that, and they found they were going to do it this year, I think, but they found it a little bit too politically unpopular. But the park board still felt threatened enough that they did this recent petition campaign where they want it to become totally independent. And I don't think, I'm not sure that, you know, it's not a bad idea, but it's not a great one either. I'm uncomfortable with the park board being able to tax me directly.
So you get a nice synopsis of why Kris is running. Of course, his contact information.
I have some issues up there.
Some issues, the property taxes, independent audit, and parks. So like other guests that I've had on running for city council, your main focus is really a financial one.
It is, and I also intend to be an advocate for property rights and civil rights in the city council. I believe strongly in property rights, so people in Ward 13 come to me and I will help you when you deal with the city. I know they're getting increasingly hard to deal with on some of these issues, but yet they'll let big developers do whatever they want. But you know, if a homeowner simply wants a little minor variance, they make it exceedingly difficult.
Speak from experience?
A little bit, but I know a lot of people who've talked to me and had those concerns. And the other thing is for people's civil rights. I think we have a police force that, you know, with this, I know that a large portion of that Metro gang strike force were Minneapolis police, and I'm all for the police, don't get me wrong, but I think we have to respect people's liberty and do a little bit better job. And if we did that, we could save the city a lot of money in these settlements, too.
Yeah, well, that's true. That is all over the news these days. And then you can lastly check out, you know, of course you can donate, get some campaign gear. Ward 13 map. Let's see if you're one of the lucky folks in Kris Broberg's ward. Kris?
Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you. And thank you.